Hello friends, let us now learn some important points about previous year questions in AIIMS. Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology in 2018. Nobel Prize in Medicine and Physiology 2018 was given for discovery of CRISPR-Cas9. Actually, this is given for discovery of CRISPR-Cas9. Sorry. I'm really sorry, this is not for CRISPR-Cas9. This is for negative immune regulation. The Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology is given in 2018 for negative immune regulation to James P. Allison and Tosuku Honzo. So this is one important thing. Which of the following cannot be diagnosed without positive anti-nuclear antibody? Positive anti-nuclear antibody, for diagnosing it, which of the following cannot be used for diagnosing positive anti-nuclear antibody? Actually, drug induced lupus cannot be diagnosed without anti-nuclear antibody. If you see, the sensitivity of anti-nuclear antibody is more than 100% for drug induced lupus, whereas for systemic lupus erythematosus it is more than 95%. For drug induced lupus it is almost 100%. That means every patient with SLE will definitely have anti-nuclear antibody positive in drug induced lupus. So that is one important thing which you should remember. Next question. Infertility in Carter-Jenner syndrome is due to? In Carter-Jenner syndrome, infertility, Carter-Jenner syndrome is mainly a primary ciliary disorder where the main infertility is due to asthenozoospermia. Infertility is due to asthenozoospermia. Then the next question. ECG with mean axis of 90 degrees, in which lead would you see the mean voltage of R, maximum voltage of R? ECG with mean axis of cardiac axis of plus 90 degrees, where you will see maximum voltage of R. Actually, I am not sure about this question. Please refer the expert's opinion. Then, which of the following is not used before ABG? That is arterial blood gas analysis. Arterial blood gas analysis, you will do Allen's test to confirm the patency of radial and ulnar arteries. Heparin is done to rinse the syringe, because if you rinse the syringe with heparin, then the blood does not clot during the arterial cannula. During taking arterial blood gas analysis. Poking at 45 degrees, true. You won't do flexion of the wrist. Actually, you will do extension of the wrist during arterial blood gas analysis. Then next question. Patient with recurrent optic neuritis of both the eyes with extensive transverse myelitis. Visual acuity in the right eye is 6/60 and visual acuity in the left eye is 6/18 and 50% response to steroids. Recurrent optic neuritis with transverse myelitis. Always remember, whenever a transverse myelitis patients, if in them there is associated optic disorder, then that is neuromyelitis optica. In neuromyelitis optica, there is aquaporin 4 immunoglobulin AQP4 IgG4 issues. You should remember this. Next question also I will deal with you again later. Then, death due to smoke inhalation is due to? Whenever there is smoke inhalation, the death can occur mainly due to all of the above. It can be due to hypoxemia, it can be due to anemic hypoxemia or ischemic hypoxemia, right? Next question. Patient who is known case of thalassemia major, already on repeated blood transfusion, with history of iron overload. On repeated blood transfusion with history of iron overload, previously treated with chelating agents. She also has history of cardiac arrhythmias. She came for blood transfusion now. During blood transfusion, patient complains of backache and looks extremely anxious. See, Patient complains of backache and looks extremely anxious. What is the next management? So actually this is a blood transfusion reaction which is occurring. Anytime when you notice a blood transfusion reaction, first and foremost you will have to stop the transfusion, and intravenous IV cannula should be open. First and foremost remove the blood, okay, and then confirm the product. You will have to see the product and the patient details and the blood product details, and then you will assess the patient for fever, cardiovascular status, respiratory status and urticaria. So based on those results you will go for the next management, but first and foremost you will have to do stop blood transfusion and do a clinical checkup. Then next question. So next question, relative bradycardia is uncommon in. Actually normally what is relative bradycardia? Whenever there is fever you will see tachycardia, but there are in some situations where even when there is raised temperature or fever you will see association with bradycardia rather than tachycardia. So those are relative bradycardia, areas where relative bradycardia is seen. So relative bradycardia is seen in brucellosis, typhoid fever, factitious fever, and also it is also seen in leptospirosis and some drug induced fevers also you will see relative bradycardia. But in malaria you will see tachycardia whenever there is increased temperature. Then next question, which of the following is not useful for measuring cardiac output? Central venous catheter is not useful for measuring the cardiac output. One important thing, cardiac output measurement can be done by transthoracic echocardiogram, thermodilution pulmonary catheter, continuous cardiac output pulmonary catheter, or commonly by echocardiogram, obviously transthoracic echocardiogram. Some dilution methods has thermodilution method, this is thermodilution pulmonary catheter method. Fixed method is actually a traditional method which is used for measuring the cardiac output. Pulmonary artery flotation catheters are also seen which will measure the cardiac output. Arterial wave analysis or thoracic electric bioimpedance, lithium dilution, combined lithium dilution and pulse counter analysis. All these will measure the cardiac output, but central venous catheter will not measure the cardiac output. Next question, what is the best marker for KDIGO criteria to differentiate renal from pre-renal acute kidney injury? See, KDIGO, the best marker is for this KDIGO is mainly the urine sodium into serum creatinine divided by serum creatinine into urine creatinine. Urine sodium into serum creatinine by serum sodium into urine creatinine is the best marker for the kidney injury according to KDIGO criteria. Okay, next, while measuring the blood pressure of a cardiac tamponade patient, what do you advise him to give? You will have to ask the patient to breathe normally. See, whenever you see a cardiac tamponade patient, always you will suspect pulsus paradoxicus. This pulsus paradoxicus is seen, that is pulsus paradoxicus is fall. What is pulsus paradoxicus? That is fall in systolic blood pressure by more than 10 millimeters of Hg on inspiration. On inspiration, if the blood pressure decreases by more than 10 millimeters of Hg, then that is pulsus paradoxicus. For noting this difference, you will have to ask the person to breathe normally. you will have to ask the person to breathe normally for this thing first, and then you can ask him to see. Whenever you ask the person to breathe normally, you will have to see the hear the Kortikoff sounds. So the pulsus paradoxicus is mainly measured by finding the difference between the systolic blood pressure at which the Kortikoff sound are first heard, that is during expiration, and the systolic blood pressure at which the Kortikoff sounds are heard with each heartbeat. You will have to see first heard heart sounds, and with each heartbeat the difference between the Kortikoff sounds which are heard, you will have to see. And the Kortikoff sounds, if you see the between these two pressures, Kortikoff sounds are heard independently and during expiration. It is actually a little complex, which is difficult for me to explain. So just remember that for cardiac tamponade patient, the patient should breathe normally while you are auscultating the heartbeat of the patient. Then 60-year-old female patient has left-sided weakness since 1 hour. He has left-sided weakness since 1 hour and left-sided facial weakness with BP of 160 by 100. So obviously there is facial weakness with increased blood pressure. So always think that there is some type of stroke or TIA, transient ischemic attack, but it is already crossed 1 hour. Because it has crossed 1 hour, so it is mostly stroke. So the CT scan is normal. See, once you think it is a stroke, first and foremost you do a CT scan. If the CT scan is normal, then the hemorrhagic causes of stroke have been ruled out. So there is no hemorrhage acting here. So what is the next best step? So obviously there is no hemorrhage, that means there is an emboli, right? On excluding the hemorrhage, you are mostly sure or you are fine that it is an emboli. So in such cases you will have to start the patient on thrombolysis. Okay, next question. Patient presents with recent onset of breathlessness and ECG is taken. ECG is shown below. What is the diagnosis? So this is the ECG which is shown. See here, I know it's very difficult to understand this because it is very small, right? But one thing I would like to emphasize from this thing is the patient has only breathlessness, and apart from breathlessness everything that the patient has is normal. Then if you see, observe closely, okay, he had given some notice, markings were given. So here. So here if you see, right, so here markings were given. He is asking you to look at these changes, right? So if you see, this is the P wave QRS complex. Here one thing you can see here, the morphology of P wave. See, the P wave is very small here. 1 minute, I will just draw it. Yeah, see the P wave here. The P wave is like this. Okay, see the P wave here. See, it is increased in amplitude. P wave is like this. See here, P wave is not good. So here one thing is, the P waves are in different morphologies. The P waves are different morphologies. So this difference in morphology of P waves is the main important thing for diagnosis of this multifocal atrial tachycardia. In multifocal atrial tachycardia, first and foremost important thing is distinct 3 or more different types of P waves are seen, right? Thank you for watching.